Hey friends, it's Jeff. Big month for us at aroundthecircle.org. In February, we are releasing the full deep dives into Enneagram 2s and 3s with Jackie Contessa and Katie Whitlock, as well as a very special interview with the Jackie Brewster on the Enneagram and love. All of these full episodes can post right to your iTunes or Spotify or whatever your podcasting platform of choice is when you sign up for a membership. Moreover, I have recorded a full college course on the Enneagram, and both the videos and audio for the first two classes will be available for free for everyone who signs up for a free membership. These will also post early in the month, so jump over to aroundthecircle.org. We have already posted the first 6 chapters of our book, and the full audio interviews for 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, and 1s are all up. You can also converse with us there, send us lots of questions, get free tickets to all our upcoming events. And this summer, we're going to resume having our online gatherings. Thank you for spending time with us, and may all good things be yours. I'm Jeff Cook.
And I'm TJ Wilson.
And this is Around the Circle.
I'm walking slowly, I'm taking my time. All I could talking is starting to rhyme. I'm letting go of lonely, letting go of strife. I just can't get enough of this beautiful life.
The Enneagram is a map of the human personality. It's a tool for navigating relationships. It creates language for what motivates us and helps us look at the way we look at everything else. Most importantly, the Enneagram's a mirror because sometimes you need help seeing yourself. My name's Jeff Cook. I'm a longtime professor of philosophy in Greeley, Colorado. And with me is TJ Wilson, coffee guru, lover of theology, and Enneagram ninja.
Hello.
Boss.
Hey.
We're continuing our 10 questions deep dive into the types with the most informed people we know. And today we get to talk to the great Katie Whitlock.
Hi.
Excellent. Welcome.
Katie is our Enneagram 3 and is studying under the most amazing people and already doing coaching and events. Tell us about your background, because it seems very similar to ours in terms of coming into Enneagram and the education that we pursued.
Absolutely. So I have a master's in education. That's kind of where all this started. I did a year of student teaching. I taught 10th grade biology, and I hated it. It was the worst thing ever. So I was like, okay, well, I have to do something different. I have this degree now. I have to do something different. So I already had restaurant experience. So I actually ended up at a fine dining restaurant here in Cincinnati, Boca. If anyone ever comes to Cincinnati, please come visit me. So I ended up there for a few years. In 2020, my mother put Suzanne Stabile's book into my hand, and she said, "This is super cool. You should read it." That was about halfway through college, like undergrad college, and I kind of sat with it for a few years. And then in 2023, that same mother said, "Hey, you should go to Suzanne Stabile's boot camp with me, Enneagram boot camp." And I was like, sure. At the time, I thought I was a 2. So we were both 2. She is a true 2, but I also thought I was 2. So we went together. And we were the mother-daughter 2 duo. So we went, and we both immediately fell in love with everything about the Stabile family. Mm-hmm. So the next year, we signed up for the cohort, Suzanne Stabile's cohort down in Dallas. And we also both got in. So we got to be the mother-daughter duo in the cohort, which was a lot of fun. By this time, I'd figured out that I was a 3. Suzanne's teaching helped me figure out I was a 3. I was complaining about 2s at the boot camp, and my mom looked over at me, and she's like, "I don't think that you're a 2. I think that you're something different." And so I had to go through that whole journey. But by the time I got to the cohort, I knew I was a 3. So I did that. I learned from Suzanne for that whole year. If anyone is thinking about going to do that cohort program, by the way, you should absolutely do it. It's worth it 1,000,000 times over. And then this year, I'm learning from her daughter, Joey Shuey, who has obviously been on this podcast 1,000,000 times. And she's incredible as well. So kind of same as you guys, I talk about the Enneagram the same way that the Stabiles do. I use a lot of their language for it, but I think they're great. I love them. I would do anything any of them told me to do. Wouldn't even think about it.
Talk about coaching. You transitioned then from You're a learner to a teacher, and obviously you have teaching experience. So that's in your genes, apparently.
It is. It actually is in my genes. I have a lot of teachers in my family. But so what I figured out during my student teaching year was that I actually didn't want to be someone's teacher. I wanted to be someone's coach or like mentor, right? Like I like talking about, I really wanted to know about all my students' lives. I really didn't care what they got on their biology test.
Sure. Yeah.
Right? Didn't care. And also, if you're a 3 and you need to be admired by people, you should not work with 15-year-olds. Okay, because they do not care about you. So I kind of realized that during my student teaching year, and then when I was learning about the Enneagram, I was like, this is my thing, right? Like TJ has said, once he did coffee, he knew that this was his thing, right? He wanted to do it for the rest of his life. I was like, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to talk to people about the Enneagram. I want to put it in front of people. And so I came home and I started thinking about ways that I could do that in Cincinnati. There's a lot of professional groups here in Cincinnati that you can work with. I started actually with my dad's company. I got to go in and do something for them. And then since then, I've had a few events here in Cincinnati. I'm teaching a class coming up, but it's a lot more fun because I love seeing the realizations that people have, when they talk about the Enneagram.
Yeah.
That first reaction that people have, they're like, how did you just read my brain like that? When they read the description of their type, right? I think that's so fun, and it's fun to be there for people and like answer their questions. So I love it, and I do it kind of in and around the Cincinnati area.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. You are also the second 3 who is a sommelier who has been on with us. Sean Palmer apparently has ninja level sommelier credentials. I want to say there was like a 3-step process towards becoming certified as a wine badass or expert. It was one of those designations, but you do the wine.
I do the wine. So for a little bit when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do before I really knew about the Enneagram, I was like, well, I really like wine and I really like working in this fine dining restaurant. Like I could do that. And as a 3, it like gave me something to do and something to be good at. Right.
Yeah.
Because there are 4 levels that you kind of work your way up through. And it's really like once you get to the top 2 levels, like it's really hard. So if you do it, then you get to be the best. Right. So that was very attractive to me.
Yeah.
So I just started it. I don't know. I mean, I guess that's the connection between the 3s and the sommelier. Because there's
alcohol and rewards. That sounds like an easy overlap,
awesome.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like your whole job, whatever you do in wine, your job is like to be around people and to be around wine. So that's probably very attractive for a lot of 3s, I would imagine. I was
presentation and you're creating the experience. And
exactly.
You're on stage there for a minute, I bet. Getting a chance to tell folks. And again, the teacher element probably comes out.
Yeah. I was in sales for a little bit. There's a company here in Cincinnati that makes their own wine. I was their sales rep for a little bit. I actually, contrary to what a lot of 3s, to what people say about 3s, is I actually hated sales. But like that, the teaching part of it was fun, right? I got to like do stuff like that. And it was really, and you got to combine history and art and people and culture, and it combines all of that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. You get to be involved in a lot of different things, which I also think is attractive to a 3, right?
Yeah, handle several different pots because of the nature of what wine is.
Yeah.
And
It's also one of those things that like you have to learn so much at the beginning to even feel like you know anything, So that probably that was attractive to me too. Like it was a hurdle you had to get over, which was fun, kind of. So.
They're not just handing out expertise. You have
right. No, right. It's not like just anybody could do this.
Yeah.
I hate saying that out loud, but that is what it was.
and the gatekeepers really do not let people who don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. They know.
Yeah.
So
I imagine it may return to our conversation, but the idea of just having some authentic standing, it's not all image for 3s. Like, you know when you have it.
I tell people 3s want to be good at something and they want you to see it. They're not always going to tell you to look, but they do want you to see it. But they do also genuinely want to be good, because I don't want to be caught being not actually good at this thing, right? Because that would look terrible.
Right.
And it's fun to like do things and accomplish things and check things off your list. It's fun.
If you say so. If
Right,
you
exactly.
say so.
Yeah. Right.
I imagine these sorts of things may color a lot of our conversation today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
it's true.
So we're taking Katie through our 10 questions. This is obviously just talking through all the kind of dynamics of the Enneagram and some of the triads. And we start out with, hey, Katie, what do you want most? And this doesn't have to be necessarily an Enneagram answer, but as a person, a human being in the world, when you think about what do I want most, what are the sorts of things that come to your mind and heart?
So I didn't have the words for this before Enneagram, but I felt this very strongly before Enneagram. But we talk about heart triad numbers wanting to be seen. And I think specifically for me as a 3, I want to be remembered. There is like a primal panic that happens in me when I think about walking into a room and then walking out and nobody remembers anything about me. Like I just had no impact on anybody whatsoever in that room. They don't remember anything about me. And I want to be loved for who I am and who I am right now. Of course, we all do. But the thing for 3 is that we don't think that there's anything of value to us, right? So we have to prove to you that we have value. And so I think that's where the being forgotten comes from. Because I say that to people and they're like, what are you talking? Like, I don't even think like that, right? I don't even think about that. I think about that all the time. Like, I want you to remember me when I walk out of this room, because I am very convinced that you won't, that you will forget me if I don't do anything about it. Right.
One of my favorite series that we did was on songwriters. And one of my favorite episodes from that series is the one we did on 2s and 3s. But I asked my wife, who's a 3, what song came first to her mind when thinking about 3-ness. And she named a Will.i.am song, which is Hall of Fame. And as you're talking, that's all I'm hearing is like, I want to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's standing, it's status, it's an accomplishment, but I have never heard remembrance paired with that. And I think that's a fantastic insight.
Because I think it comes off as very egocentric because it is. But like as a 3, it doesn't feel egocentric. It feels scary. It feels scary that you're going to forget me. And so I have to do something to make you remember me. Right. And if that gets me into the Hall of Fame, that's awesome.
Right.
If it makes me write a level 4 psalm, that's awesome. But at least you'll remember that I was here. Right.
Yeah.
Thoughts, Teach?
Yeah, that's super interesting. Like, because we share a line, like there is some similarity there, and there are things that I pick up from 3s when I'm in security, but being remembered is not something. I have never been interested in a legacy like that. I have never cared about that, but I do want the stuff that I do to be recognized and remembered. Yeah.
That's
and
a
it's
good distinction.
like that distinction there is really interesting. And for a lot of us who can't understand this idea of wanting to be remembered, like there is something similar there, but for a 3 in the center of that heart triad, like you want you to be remembered. You want to make an impression that people take away. Yeah.
3s, people always say about 3s that they want to be successful, and that is true. But it's deeper than that. It's that I just think being successful is the only way that you'll remember me, right?
And I think this might be one of the pieces that help inform the past focus of the heart center, is that you're thinking about the future with a past in mind.
Yes.
In the future, you want the past to have mattered.
Yes.
And
Okay, because I've never connected it like that, and that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
I'm glad that you're taking a moment to parse the idea of success and excelling, because it's easy to just give the Instagram picture of, well, 3s want success, and to say go a level deeper, because there's something else that's core here, and it's about your value in the minds of others over time, is what I was hearing.
Yeah, it's I just don't think I feel boring a lot of times. I feel like who I am is boring, and people don't like boring people. That's what I've like picked up, right, in the world. And so I feel like I can't be myself. I'm kind of jumping questions here, but a a lot of people talk about threes disconnecting from their emotions, right? And I think a lot of people hear that and they automatically think like sad or anger or fear. And it's different for every three. I think
Right.
I've never felt upset about being sad. Like I've never felt like I had to hide being sad or being maybe like frustrated. I've always felt like I had to hide being boring. And when I just wanted to sit in the back of the room and not be at the front, and when I just wanted to be around people and not talk to them, or I just wanted to be by myself, I've always felt like I had to hide that because people were automatically going to say, she doesn't bring anything to this room, so we're not going to invite her back, which is crazy. And it's not how people think, right? Like I've said that to people who aren't threes and they're like, what are you, like, why would we even think that, right?
Right.
Like we don't even start down that path. But I mean, we all have our own version of that, right? Whatever it is. So it's just that I think naturally there's no reason you would invite me back. And I want to be invited back because I like you guys, right? Like whoever's in the room, I want to be
Right.
here again.
Right.
So let me figure out the best way to reflect what I think you want from me back to you. And then maybe you'll invite me back.
Just to clarify, if you are truly sad about something to the point where your emotions kick in and you're crying, are you saying that you would not hide that from
No,
those around
I
you?
don't think I ever have.
Yeah.
I grew up in a family though that very healthy. Like both my parents are very high functioning in their numbers. Mom's a 2, my dad's a 5. And so I never that was never the message that I got from anybody, right? Was that we're not allowed to be sad. We're not allowed to be angry. We're not allowed to do that, right? There are things like if I'm sad about being boring or something like that, you know what I mean? Then maybe I'll try to hide that because I don't want to let you know that that's what I'm thinking. But I cry all the time,
In front of others.
in front of others. Yeah,
Yeah.
very easily.
I love that, tacking that with, it's not the message that I received.
Yeah, it's just not for whatever reason.
I'm going to think on that because this is not, in my house is not how things work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Like Suzanne, her story for threes is she was like at a restaurant, or maybe it was Ian who said this, but they were at a restaurant and they heard a father, they overheard a father talking to his son, and he was telling the son something like, we don't cry, or the son like did bad at a game or something like that, right? And the dad was basically telling him like, buck up, do better. Something very like core 3, right? And I was always like, I don't relate to that at all. Like I don't, like I've never been told not to cry. I've never been told you're not allowed to be frustrated. But I have always felt like you're not allowed to be boring. Not from my parents, if my parents are listening to this, but just from in the world in general, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you have, does something, just push into that a bit, do you have an image in your mind that like comes from, I assume from like your early years where you do know that you were boring? And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like what
In high
comes to mind?
school. So in high school, this is after our numbers formed, right? So I was already looking at it from a 3 thing. But in high school, I graduated in a class of like 160. So you knew everybody's name, but you weren't friends with everybody, right? And I was right on the circle between the core inner group and the one outside of that, right? I was right on the edge between those two. I wasn't like real close friends with the people in the inner circle, but I would get invited to their stuff, right? If I was acting right. And I was very aware all the time that I could not let myself be forgotten by them, or else I would stop being invited. They would not remember me enough to like invite me to whatever party they were throwing, right? Or like the dinner that they were having or whatever. And it happened a few times. Like that wasn't just me telling myself that, like it actually did happen. Like if I didn't speak up in class or like didn't talk to them outside or whatever, like the next party I would not be invited to. And if I did, then I would. So it was very clear to me that I had to play this very specific part to get what I wanted, which was like to go be with everybody, right? Because it was fun.
Sure.
And it was only 160 people. So it's not like there was a lot of other options, right? And I'm a 3, so I want to be at the core of it anyway. So even if there were other options, it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
But that was like very clear to I didn't have the words for it when I was 16, but that it's very clear to me that that's what was happening.
There's 3's ability to win relationships across the board, which I'm hearing there. I had this. I was part of this circle. I was part of this circle. This is something that I see a lot in 3 world is ability to really come into others' spaces. There's a circle and perhaps be on the periphery, but you probably have a close friend or a couple close friends
Yeah.
that are different.
Yeah.
And when you think about friendships that you experience, what are the qualities of like your depthiest friendships that you really appreciate, that ping for you is this is different from me simply quote unquote performing for this circle over here?
Yeah. Can I talk about my boyfriend? Does it have to be
Of
a
course.
friendship?
That counts. Yeah.
So my boyfriend's a 9. So we talk about people at the end of our stress line. Joey Shuey says this: the people at the end of your stress line can take care of you in a way that other people can't, right?
Mhm.
And that's what he does for me. He was the first person to teach me, and the first relationship I had outside of my family that really, it wasn't the biggest thing for me to realize as a 3. It wasn't that he loved me despite my faults. It was that did not even occur to him as a reason to not like me. Like he did not think about them like that, right? It wasn't like, oh, I see all these good things and I see the bad and I like you anyway. Like he was like, why would I think about your good and your bad? Like I just love you, right?
Sure.
Like I don't think about you like that. Whereas as a 3, living in comparison, I constantly think about people's good and bad. I try not to always judge you on it, but I always think about it, right? I'm always aware. And so now we have a group of, there's 3 couples. So it's us, another couple, and another couple. We all hang out. And like, that's what I appreciate about them, because they don't even, like, that doesn't even occur to them why they like me. I could sit in the back of the room when we're having dinner and nobody would even care. It wouldn't even come up, right? That's the thing. It's not that it wouldn't even come up. It's not a thought in their minds, right? So that's what that has been the most healing relationships for me. Not when people say, "Oh, I love you anyways." It's when they say, "Why would you even think about yourself like that?" Because I don't. So
That's good.
she got out of the bedroom.
I have so little to add because the particular angle that you're taking is fresh in a way that like there is such a clear understanding of this sort of like heart of 3-ness that is not talked about this well super often. And like drawing that distinction between like needing to be seen and remembered and like making an impression. I love this idea that like you have to be making an impression, and that is, it cuts to the core so quickly.
What I heard there was, I imagine in your romantic relationship, you're going to find somebody who not only is not really impressed by you having 128 check marks, but in fact working against that and saying, I believe
Why
it's
did you
time
do
to
that?
slow down a bit. And so you don't need to apologize when you slow down because they have already invited you to slow down over
I've
and
been
again.
wishing we were going to slow down all day. That's what he's thinking, right?
That's how that goes.
This is great.
Whereas the 3 in my life routinely is like, are you judging me for taking a half day off? And it's like,
No, I ask him that all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, do you think, I wish I could come up with an example right now, but like, do you think, it's because we're in comparison all the time, right? And like, I would have a thought about you doing this. I would love you and I wouldn't like judge you, but I would have a thought. I would notice it, right?
Right.
And like, he's always like, no, I didn't even think about it before you brought it up. And it took me so long to even believe him. I was like, no, but you're a 9. You don't realize that you're having the thought. He's like, no, I'm telling you that's not, it didn't even occur to me.
Or you just won't say it because you're trying to avoid conflict.
Exactly.
Just tell me the truth.
Yeah.
No.
I was
No,
trying
you
to
don't care.
Enneagram him into like being upset with me, I guess.
I regularly encourage people that I know to drop out of college. Like canceled plans are my favorite plans.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
The other thing that I want to talk about friendship for just another moment, because I think it really does encapsulate a lot of threeness in it. The other thing that I see with threes is threes can move to be such high capacity people that they can outrun the maturity level and successful status, as it were, of other folks and find themselves alone.
Yeah.
That you have done so much work, and now you find yourself rather singular. But if you can pivot and look around and say, but this person is at my same level and gets the world that I've entered.
Mm-hmm.
And those relationships strike me for threes is really essential, and say something. That person will authentically speak into your life as will be able to mirror something at a different kind of level than everyone else. And that's another thing I suppose I see in threes is perhaps a desire for that kind of person speaking into their world.
I would say the people like that for me are the people that were in my cohort last year. We all went through Suzanne's cohort, right? And we all, like, none of us can pull Enneagram BS on each other anymore, right? Like, we see it.
Right.
So I have a lot of friends from that cohort who I will call and be like, I have this problem, whatever, or I'm thinking of doing this thing. What do you think?
Real quick, just for I actually don't even know, but a cohort's like a 3-weekend
Yes.
gathering. Isn't that how that works?
Let me promote it because I love it so much. So, Life in the Trinity Ministry. That is Suzanne and Joe Stabile's
organization.
Thank you. I was going to say business. It's not really business. So they do a lot of stuff.
It's
obviously,
totally a business.
whatever it is.
Tomato, Jeff.
They obviously, like, Suzanne speaks all over the country and they do a lot of stuff, right? But one of the big things they do is they host cohorts at their place in Dallas, at their building in Dallas. So what it is, they have a bunch of different ones. I signed up for like the Enneagram cohort with Suzanne, but like Joe teaches a contemplative one. This year I'm doing Joey and Billy's Enneagram for the Modern World. Go look at their website. They have a bunch of them, right? What it is, it's once a quarter, roughly once a quarter. It's always 4 weekends over a year. You go to Dallas from wherever you are, and you spend Thursday afternoon, all of Friday, and all of Saturday in that room learning from them. And it's awesome. And not only do you get to sit in a room with the Stabiles, which is great, but you also get, the max is like 40 people. I bet all of them are somewhere from like 20 to 40 people. You get an automatic 40 people who see through you and do not let you lie to yourself anymore about why you're doing things.
Yeah.
And that almost even, well, I wouldn't say more, but like equally as valuable to all the knowledge you get from whoever's teaching is you get this automatic horde of people who hold you true to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great. Everyone should do it. My aunt is a 7 and she's doing it right now. We convinced her to do it. And she went this last weekend and she called me afterwards and she was like, this is awful and it's great and it's terrible. Because it makes you confront like everything about yourself. And as a 7, she's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But it's great. And like all those people, going back to friendships, those people we talk about knowing each other from the inside out. So like I sometimes forget what they do for a job or like their last name, like, or how old they are, right? But I know how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
And they know how I operate, and they can help me if I ever have a problem or if I'm lying to myself again about who I am or what I can do and all these things. They can kind of call you out on it. So that's very, very helpful for me. Because a lot of times when people want to fix a 3's problem, they go, oh, no, you're great. It'll be fine. And I'm like, no, I know. The problem is, like, I don't want to be great, right? People just convince you, oh, you're really good at this. It'll be fine. I'm like, I know. That's not the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
It's getting the authentic standing there.
Right. Yeah. It's how do I be authentic?
Mm-hmm.
And how do I be okay if this doesn't land? Right?
Yeah.
Like, what then what? And they know how to talk to that.
Yeah.
I love the image of wanting to be remembered. So much of what 3s can build end up having some of that quality, or even the elevation of trophies or giving trophies to others.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is, you have not only won this, but this is a marker that something was done in the past. And again, halls of fame and the rest,
Right,
or
right.
or Oscars. And you've brought up a handful of times how relational your filter is. And so pivoting to our second question of how do you see the world? Threes are heart types, are bringing in the world through their emotional center. How do you experience that?
So I kind of use Joey's language for this. So I walk in a room. She says that threes start in feeling, but then we quickly switch up to action, right? Whereas
Mhm.
everyone, twos and fours would also process with feeling, and we don't. So I walk in a room and I see how the room is feeling. Very specifically, I don't really care how individual people are feeling. I just care about like the general vibe of the room, right? Because what I'm looking for unconsciously subconsciously is who do I need to be in order to get the best reaction out of this room, right? That's what's happening in a three's brain. So I don't really care about how like specific people feel unless I am talking directly to you. But if I walk out on a stage or whatever, right? Or if I in like real life when I was a sales rep, when I walked into a meeting, like what's the general consensus here, right? So I walk in immediately aware. I'm also immediately aware of like who has the power in this room.
Sure.
Maybe not always like political power, but like social power, right? Who do people like in this room?
Yep.
And then I want to be next to them, but also I don't want them to be better than me. So, but I immediately notice that, right? So I notice all of those things. If I wasn't a three, I would stay in the heart triad and then process with feeling as well. But I don't. I switch up into action. So what I say, what that actually feels, that's a lot of Enneagram language. What that actually feels like in me is that I do not feel loyal to any feeling I have because what I'm going to do is very different from whatever I'm feeling, right? So a lot of times, like at the bar, when I'm bartending, a lot of times when I'm talking with people, it feels like, in a video game, someone says something, like an NPC will say something, and you get little dialogue options. You have to like pick the best one. That's what it feels like talking to people. Like I'm not actually giving you what I want to say. I'm giving you what I think you want me to say.
Yep.
It's still filtered through me. It's not something that I would like never say, right?
Right.
Especially like politically, like sometimes politics come up at the bar, right? But I would never say something I wouldn't say, but I will absolutely pick the one that I think I can get you to like me the most, right? Even if it's not fully something I agree with.
Yeah.
But that's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like a real conversation. It feels like I am picking dialogue options. What should I say next to get this person to think that I'm valuable and successful and cool, right?
Yeah.
So it's that I'm aware of your feelings. I'm aware of my feelings. That has no power of what I'm going to do next, right? That I can throw those away if I want to.
Yeah, that's a great distinction there because like we're very aware that this heart triad is all about the feelings, but these like threes have a sense of them. Three like they're that information is there and available to them, but it's not the thing that's going to decide what's next.
No, not at all. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's not the thing that's going to decide what's going to happen next. Right. That's a great way to put it. And I guess my question, if I was listening to this, would be like, well, what does? And
you do.
I do. Yeah. It's what's going to, well, the room, I would say the room does, because I say what's going to get me what's going to make me the most liked in this room. So depending on what the room energy is, that's what's going to decide what I do next.
I would challenge that just a tiny bit to suggest that also depends on the room. Like it's not just about like how the room feels, but like what is the point?
Yes.
So if you're coming in for a sales meeting,
very true.
Like as a salesperson, part of your job there is to move the conversation in a certain direction.
Right.
And so you have to gauge how the room is in order to get to that place. But you still get to be a little bit in control of where the room goes.
True. That's a good point. So I'll add what's going to make people think of me the best, and also what's the fastest way to get to what I want, right? Yep. While keeping people's opinion of me high. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Thank you, TJ. What's going to get me what I want while also keeping my image positive in these people's minds. Yes. That feels more true to me. I also, because like another part of 3, if you're socially aware, you also know, like if it's not the time to speak up and like make myself the center of attention, you're going to look very foolish. You're just going to look like somebody who wants the attention on you. And I do want that, but I don't want you to know that, right?
Right.
Right.
Like,
There is
you
an
just look
art.
like a crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is an art. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Positioning yourself ahead of time. This is, I mean, again, we jump into future topics, but positioning yourself ahead of time. I'm planning on being interesting next Thursday
Mhm.
is a thing. So say I study wines at a depthy level such that next Thursday when I'm standing in front of others, I am prepped and can showcase your energy. I assume it's the case that now you've done the work. And so your energy can be fully present, and when desiring to exert it, you may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I talk about like 3s have an image of who we want to be 10 years from now, and we work backwards from that. That's not my original thought. Maybe Joey said that. I got that from somebody. Doing the work even sounds more 6 to me. Like I need to prepare for this. What is happening in my head is like this person that I want to be 10 years from now would have this knowledge. So I need to have this knowledge. I need to get ready because this image of who I want to be, that's what this person would do. So it's not it is like I don't want to look foolish, so I need to prepare, but it's also it's still very image focused, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing this because the person I want to be would know this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose the way I'd want to picture that non-3 language, it would be something like it's not just goals, but goals by their nature have a reverse engineering quality to them.
Yeah.
And so I think you're saying that better than I am, but that's clever.
And I think it from as a 9, like none of that makes sense to me at all. Like, because that is a thing that I don't care about. Like that,
Yeah.
I don't know how to set future goals like that. And I think that's a really great way of sort of showcasing the planning of the 3 is about who you want to be in the future. And so like all of the goals, all of the like for a lot of us, we aren't looking to the future in that way.
Right.
And it can be the case that 3s are constantly moving away from us, like if we're in a relationship, because they're moving toward that future. This is a great way to understand that it's not like if my friend is making decisions in their life that move them away, it's not because they're moving away from us, it's because they're moving toward their vision of the future.
And we want you to come with us.
Right.
Like, come on. You know what I mean? But that is one of the things that Jace, my boyfriend, has taught me as a 9 is like, so the next thing in our relationship is to get engaged, right? That'll probably happen this year. Then we get to plan a wedding. It's very exciting. And do all these things, right? And then like buy a house and have a kid and do all this stuff, right? It's all very exciting. I think about that all the time.
Sure.
It's exciting to me. And it's like somewhere we get to go, right?
Right.
And I ask him questions about it. I'm like, oh, when you think about our future house, like, what do you think? Like, what do you think it'll look like? And he's like, I don't know. I've never thought about it. What?
Yeah.
You've never thought about it?
No.
What do you mean? Right? Or like, oh, hey, I'm not engaged and I have a spreadsheet in Excel of the wedding and the honeymoon. Okay. Because it's just fun. Like not even like in a pressure way, like need to get engaged right now. Like it's just fun to me to like think about it. So I just think about it. And I'll be like, oh, is there anything that's super important to you, about the wedding? And again, this could be applied to anything, right? It's not just engagement, it's anything.
Right.
And he's like, no, I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. When that's here, I'm fully in. Yeah.
And he's fully in. He's always fully in. Like I love him to the moon and back. He is a wonderful, wonderful boyfriend. He's always in once it gets here.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. And he's actually taught me, he talks about like, I love the part of life we're in now. Right. Like we don't have a kid and we live together and we have our little kitty and like, it's awesome. And we get to do whatever we want. And I am excited for the rest, but I also want to enjoy the now. Yeah. And like that would never occur to me as a 3. So it's been of the laundry list of things he's done for me, like that's one of the top ones is like taught me how to not always try to run away from the now. Not run
Sure.
away, but like run towards the future because that's more exciting to me, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah, when before my partner and I got married, before we even got engaged, we were together for several years, and there was a long period of time where that was actually problematic, that I hadn't proposed yet, and part of me understood what she was experiencing and like what everyone else was thinking when they looked at our relationship and the fact that I hadn't proposed yet.
right.
And another part of me was like, we're getting there. We'll
be there.
headed there
Yeah.
regardless.
Yes.
Like, we're fine where we are right now.
Yep.
That's coming. We don't have to run to it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I agree, which is true. All of it's true, right?
Yeah.
Again, as of everything, it's all
Yeah.
true.
I waited way too long. And also, it was fine. We got there eventually.
Yeah. He's waited. It's a very normal. We've been together 3 years in like a week. Like it's very normal amount of time. And again, I always tell him, I'm like, I'm not pressuring you, right? Like I'm just talking about it. I hope you don't feel pressured. He's like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's just,
It's fine. It's going to be fine.
It'll happen when it happens.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I've never thought like that in my entire life. That's crazy.
Katie, 1, I affirm spreadsheets. And 2, complementary relationships are the way to go. Like there's something wonderful, especially around orientation at a time when you can balance each other on those fronts. It makes you nuts on one side, and but on another side, it can be incredibly helpful.
Right. I know people always ask like which numbers should get together, and you always say, well, everybody can get. You just have to be high functioning, and I'm like, but a 3 with a 9 is great.
That's good.
Anybody on your line is great.
Yeah.
As you're speaking, the thing that
Don't
I
mind.
find most tremendous about 3s is if you have a healthy 3 that cares about you, they target your thriving and elevate your path towards thriving in a way that is simply unmatched. And it's one of those things that I'm just deeply grateful for when I have healthy 3s in my life in that space. She's Katie Whitlock. She is a Enneagram coach, and I mean, you're doing all sorts of content creation as well. Yeah,
I am. Yep. So my I'm gonna go 3 and promote myself.
Please do.
It's called 9-fold. So the number 9-fold, like 10-fold, except we're talking about the Enneagram, so it's 9. If you just go to 9fold.life, that's my website. You can find everything about me. And then I'm 9fold Enneagram on Instagram, so you can find me there as well. But I'm posting stuff there. I'm doing workshops in Cincinnati if you're local to me. Hopefully I'd love to start traveling one day and do stuff as well, but that's where all the updates and stuff will be. So
Nice.
Well, if I'm thoughtful about this, I will almost certainly put the links in the description notes. So look there to
you.
find Katie's stuff. And it's been a real delight to have you.
Thank you.
Do let us know if we can help you with any of your work moving forward. And that's what I got. You got anything else, TJ?
It has been an absolute pleasure. I am very impressed with the amount of wisdom you carry with you in this field, that like you get it.
Thank you.
And it's only been 5 years?
Yeah. I mean,
it's great.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm very impressed, and you can speak about aspects of 3ness that I don't know that I've ever heard a 3 be able to explain these ways of thinking.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
You're going to make my head too big. So.
Friends, you can hear the second half of this conversation at aroundthecircle.org, where you can hear all of our deep dives into the types. And that's about what I got. Moving forward, you got anything else, CJ?
I got nothing, ma'am.
He's CJ Wilson. He's officially awesome. She's Katie Whitlock. She's been a treasure to us, and we're so grateful for your time. And we're looking forward to seeing all the amazing things that you accomplish.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
And I suppose I'm Jeff Cook, who you aren't, just isn't interesting.